You know, last month when Josh Scrocher, aka Firebrand, did his review on Season 4 episode Rainbow Falls, he pointed out the fact that Rainbow Dash had another flyer right in front of her face in the form of Twilight Sparkle, who had recently, as of the end of Season 3 and the beginning of Season 4, obtained wings, thus becoming an alicorn, thus becoming a princess, yet we wouldn't know what she'd be the princess of until the end of the season. But even though Josh, aka Firebrand, may have been dumbfounded that Rainbow was oblivious to this fact, I believe I have the answer and the solution as to why. And even though you may or may not agree with it, the answer and the solution as to why Rainbow did not choose Twilight to help participate, even though, yes, it would have made sense, is because in context and in story, Twilight, once she became an alicorn, aka a royal princess, royalty if you will, instantly became ineligible. Unlike Season 1, where she was still a unicorn and thus she was still eligible to participate in such events, when she became an alicorn, aka a royal princess, she became ineligible. And I know people will point out the Royal Sisters competing in the Sisterhood Social in the IDW comics. But remember, both sides of that spectrum have stated that even though both the comics and the show share the same timeline and world, they're both completely two different continuities at most times. Thus, in the comics, and yes, comics give you a little bit more leeway and freedom to do what you want, the writers of the story can do whatever they please with the characters, and if the writer of that story felt, hey, let's add a twist to the Sisterhood Social and have the Royal Sisters participate, then they had the freedom to do so. But as far as the show staff is concerned, they're going off the logic that once a character evolves and becomes more powerful, they instantly become ineligible to compete in certain events. Thus, when Twilight became an alicorn, and even though, yes, I'll admit, it would have made sense for Rainbow Dash to have her be part of the team, Twilight became ineligible to participate because she became way too powerful, and she would have ended up giving Ponyville and the Flyers an unfair advantage. It'd be like if, let's say, Rainbow decided to go to Celestia and ask her to be part of the team. Celestia would have to turn her down due to the fact that Celestia is royalty and she's way too powerful, and by being way too powerful, she would have given the team an unfair advantage. The same with Luna and Cadence. Rainbow could have gone to either one of them and they would have said the same thing, or it would have been the same result. A good reality, real-world example of that is when kids grow up. A lot of kids, their parents put them in all these other sporting activities outside of school, whether it's Little League Baseball, Pop Warner football, whatever, but as they get older, they start to become ineligible to participate in these events. So in some cases, once they enter middle school, aka junior high, they become ineligible to be part of Pop Warner and Little League. Or if they enter high school in some cases, thus they also become ineligible for Little League, Minor League, and Pop Warner or Junior League football, because of the fact that not only are they older, but if they have a growth spurt in some cases, they also put in danger the other boys and girls that might be smaller than they are. Thus, because of the fact that they're older, maybe taller, they become ineligible, and the only other sports that they can take part in is sports representing the school that they're attending. And in a sense, this applies as to why Rainbow, even though, like I will agree, Josh, would have made sense to choose Twilight to be part of the team, she couldn't do it because of the fact that Twilight had evolved. She had grown into an alicorn, aka a royal princess, and thus became way too powerful, and thus Rainbow knows that that would have caused them to have an unfair advantage. And if Rainbow is anything, depending on who writes her character for the episode, if Rainbow is anything, she is basically someone that likes to play by the rules and give everybody an opportunity. And like I said, that all depends on who writes her character for the episode. And in this case, Rainbow probably, in context, continuity, and storyline, realized that if she had chosen Twilight to help participate, it would have been unfair. Thus, the reason she went with Bulk Biceps, she went with Fluttershy, and for a time even went with Derpy. So, in closing, to make this real short as I can, Josh, with all due respect, the reason Rainbow couldn't choose Twilight, from my opinion, and you can agree with it or not, is because Twilight had recently become an alicorn, and in the show's context and storyline, became ineligible. And even if she was allowed to do so, it would have given the team an unfair advantage. And if there's anything, like I said, that Rainbow does like to do, she likes to win, but most times, depending on who writes her character, she likes to win fair and square. Thus is the reason why she didn't choose Twilight, even though, yes, I agree, it would have made some sense. But that's all I really wanted to come out here and say in response to that moment that you talked about, even though briefly in your review, Josh. So, if you do communicate and reply to me, let me know what your thoughts are. Anybody else listening and watching, let me know what you guys think about my response to that situation, to that moment, as brief as it was. Comment if you like. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you, and I am out.